what does sexual health really mean? We talk about it all the time. We talk about sex all the time, but what is sexual health? Let's get into it today. I did a short on what's the biggest thing you can do, which is balance your hormones. We're going to make that our last tip today, but let's talk about some other things we can do to start off with that can help us with our libido and with our response. Because if we don't have a libido, there's no sex to be had. And if we don't have good response, we're not going to want to go back for more, right? And that sometimes, as men age, they don't slow down as quickly. They have their own issues with ED and things like that. But women, we have our issues, okay? So let's talk about some things. First of all, to have a good sexual experience, and men don't always understand this, you need to feel safe and relaxed in a proper environment with a proper person, right? So obviously, I'm not a big advocate of casual sex. And a lot of people aren't. Morally, people judge. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you just pick somebody up, are you really going to feel safe and comfortable in some so seedy motel room? No. So most of you have partners, you're in long-term relationships, you're married, that's fine. But I still think, is the door locked? I've heard of kids walking in on parents. Is that traumatizing? Yeah, I think so. So I think it's really important to have that safe environment. We're going to talk about maybe going to a hotel. That's more for planning on dates. But locking the door, or the kids not around, or I wouldn't be one to do it in an elevator, but sometimes men want that. But you have to have that calm, safe environment and make it relaxing music, maybe some aromatherapy. I like to bring in all the senses. I think that's perfect. Music, which is sound, oil, warm oil, which is going to go in with the touch, aromatherapy, which is scent, strawberries with whipped cream, that's taste. But that's super important, the environment. And a man can't expect you to respond without a safe, relaxed environment. And if you have a safety with him, you feel comfortable with him, you feel safe with him. I know this man, with a long-term relationship, that's fine. But with newer relationship, that's really important. If you're not responding, that could be the reason. Now, connection with your partner. This might sound obvious. Of course, you have to have a connection. Some women say they don't, but I don't believe that, because I think down deep our souls, casual sex it's not really meant for us as humans. But again, I don't judge. So having a connection with your partner, and I heard one psychologist speaking once, and she was saying, like, every night before I go to bed, she had a really successful practice, like me and my husband right in bed, we'll talk about things and we'll break down that wall, because over time, if you keep he didn't take out the trash, well, she's nagging me, well, he's watching the game too long, and she's out with her girlfriends too late. You build this wall. So her philosophy is every night, if you talk about the little things, and maybe it's only one or two things in a day, that will end up keeping that wall from being built. Now, I agree with that, but I think every night before bed, my opinion, what do I know? I think that's a lot. Just ask people. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I feel like that's a lot. And I think people will be like, I don't have time. So what if it's once a week, right? And then you tie it to some sort of outcome that your partner, I'm talking mostly to women here, is going to like. So what if you did it just once a week and you sat down and said, honey, these are a few of the things, and you do it with a good attitude, be very sweet. Take it good when he says, well, I don't like it when you do this, this, and this. And let's have a discussion. Let's make some rules around it. We're not going to scream at each other. We're going to move ahead. But that type of open communication, I know women probably like that better. The next point men are going to like a little bit better than this one. But that's for women. And if we connect it to the next point and tell your partner, I want to do this too, I think he'll be okay with it. And then you never build that wall between you. Because when that wall builds between you, then there's secrets, then there's mistrust, then who's having an affair, right? And we don't want that to happen. So connection is really important. Now, the next thing is having a date night, okay? So you can say to your husband, listen, we can do a once a week date night if we do a once a week break down our wall on communication. Now, if you can't, once a week's a lot. I think once a week's good, but I'm saying if you're going to go to a hotel and that gets expensive, you might want to do just like once a month or something like that. But here's why it's so important to get women out of the house and into a hotel. Because, right, do you ever see the commercial? It's like your vacation self would do this and this, but your regular self wouldn't. Well, guess what? Your hotel self would do this and would relax more, whereas your regular self would be like, oh my gosh, there's dishes over there. Oh my gosh, the bed's not made. You can't say that in a hotel. And I heard Jenny McCarthy. Do you guys know? I love Jenny McCarthy. She's probably about my age now. I actually met her in Vegas one time. She's really cool. But anyway, she was doing like a podcast or a show and saying like hotel self, go to a hotel. Women act different in hotels, and they do. So for the little bit of money men are going to spend on that, or you're both paying whatever, it's going to help you be more relaxed. You're away from home. You almost feel like you're on a vacation for a night. So I'm not saying you do that every week if that gets expensive, but maybe once a month. And having those date nights where you put in time, right? Say to your husband, listen, if you didn't put any time into your job or your business or building that building or fixing the car, if you didn't put time in, how would the project turn out? Not good. Well, guess what? I'm not a project, but this is a marriage. This is a relationship. This is a thing we're doing here. So we need to put some time into it. And let's get away from the kids. Let's just go out to eat. Let's talk about things, plan different things. One thing that I always think is fun is asking each other, what do you think is sexy? So if a man says, well, I think it's sexy when you blah, 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 and you're like, really? I didn't think that. You do more of that. Or, you ask him and he asks you, and you go back and forth and you say, well, see, what I would say is, I think it's sexy when I see a man working. That really gets me going. And for me, that's kind of true. I mean, not any man. I mean, like my partner in my house, but whatever. If he's working, I just think that's sweet. Like you're doing something for me. But for in this case, you can say that, and a man's like, "Wow, she really appreciates that," and that's like a turn on that I'm taking care of her. Yeah, it is for a lot of women. So sharing these things opens up a whole new world. Okay. Now the other thing is, and I jumped ahead with these other ones, but this one's really important. Is how are you responding? Right? If you're not having a good response or you don't have a good libido, both of those things are not going to make you want to have sex, right? So there are two different things, right? One is libido and one is response, and they're both connected to your hormones. So at Be Balanced, I'm not going to go off too much on a tangent here, but at Be Balanced, we balance women's hormones. We don't replace them. So we can do things with herbs that can help release excess testosterone that's bound up, that gives you a little extra testosterone in your system without giving it to you, without injecting you or taking a pill of testosterone. And then it works naturally with your body because testosterone does have something to do with libido. We found that when you balance estrogen and progesterone, libido comes back. But we have herbs for that. We have natural progesterone that brings it up, balances with estrogen. You don't need estrogen. Your body makes estrogen on its own. Does it fall a little bit around menopause? 20%, roughly. Does progesterone fall? Yeah, it plummets like 80%. So what do you think is causing your symptoms? The progesterone dropping. So we bring progesterone back up. And I've seen it with lab tests. We have our own chemists that when you bring progesterone back up, the body will start to make estrogen and put it in the system. So that's where there's the balancing. We can get testosterone naturally. We can get estrogen, progesterone naturally through a plant-based herbal, it has herbs in there too, but a plant-based cream. So these are the things we can do. Balancing your hormones is so important so that you can have the right microcirculation in the right areas. You can have that actual drive and libido. It'll help with orgasm as well. So the performance as well. It's all tied into your hormones. So going to BeBalancedCenters.com, we do offer free consultations and we will give you candid answers to your sexual health questions. It's not like talking to your doctor where it could be a little bit like it's a man you don't really know, or your OBGYN, she's like, I got to get my next appointment. And you don't want to, well, I'm not orgasming. What is that going to come up? Really? It's just, you don't feel as comfortable. So working with us at Be Balanced, we're women, we understand, we've seen it. Okay. The other thing is, real quick, we have I don't have a bottle with me, I should. A lubrication that's a moisturizer using DHEA. Safe for BRCA gene carriers, safe for survivors, safe if you have estrogen in your family. It'll coat and revitalize the vaginal walls, kind of bring them back to life. Use it as a moisturizer between sexual activity, and then you can use it as a lubricant, and it will revitalize that area, and it's estrogen free because there's a lot of problems with estrogen. I won't get into that's a whole nother video. It doesn't really do what you think it does. So therefore, balancing the hormones is important. Now, I will say a couple other things about this. When it comes to response, that'll help with libido and response. But let's just, come on. What happens in the bedroom is going to make a difference what your partner does as to how well you respond to. If somebody just throws you on the bed, unless you like it rough, I don't know. But I'm saying that's not going to be. So here's the rule. Ancient Chinese medicine rule, 20 minutes. There is no penetration until 20 minutes. So I do a sexual health course for men. I finished that and I said, do I have to tell you what to do for 20 minutes? You need to touch all areas of her body, get her going. Men ignite quickly like fire. Women take a while. If you put a pot on the stove, it takes a while to start boiling, but then it can boil actually longer. Then a flame goes out pretty quickly from a match. So keep that in mind. So women can have multiple orgasms, men can't. So it takes a little while. So you need to say to your partner, I need to take this time. I don't know if you want to set a timer, like a sports game, we start, is there going to be a referee involved? I don't know, but whatever analogy that helps him understand. I actually have an analogy that I teach men. I'm like, okay, so so I said a touchdown and a field goal. And I won't go into it in here, but a touchdown and a field goal are different analogies for different types of orgasm. So the clitoral orgasm is like field goal, but a real touchdown is the vaginal orgasm. You're not going to get there with a real quick wham bam, thank you ma'am. There needs to be this 20 minutes. So with involving Rejuve and having something that can help you lubricate and revitalize those walls, and doing some of these other things, having the right environment, having these talks weekly, having date nights, this is all going to help your sexual response and even your sexual desire and probably your marriage and your overall life. Because it's so important. When you balance your hormones, you get your libido back. And even if you're not with somebody, a partner right now, like I'm not with anybody right now, it's super important because libido gives you your zest for life. Do I look like I'm happy to just be alive? I am. And it doesn't have to be, you can channel that sexual energy into your business, into friendships, into your children, anything. It doesn't have to just be for sexuality. And that's why it's such, in ancient Chinese medicine, sexuality and your sexual glands and your sexual energy are so important. So hopefully you learned something today. Come to BeBalanceCenters.com. You can look there. We do have a free hormone assessment that can help you understand your hormones better. But also, we offer free consultations and we'll answer your questions so that you feel comfortable and you can increase your sexual health this September ongoing. So thank you for watching and we hope to see you soon.